Today is Tuesday, May 28th. We'll tell you about a massive tornado outbreak that ripped across more than a dozen states over the weekend and where the storms are headed now. Also, some of the hurdles Americans faced as Memorial Day weekend broke travel records. Plus, a video game maker and social media giant are being sued over a shooting. Backlash is growing over Google's new AI search overview. And athletes brought home titles and huge cash prizes in a couple of different sports. So we'll catch you up on all those stories and more news to know today next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Weekend storms across at least 20 states turned buildings into rubble, damaged cars, and brought down power lines. And sadly, they were responsible for at least 23 deaths. Most of them happened in Arkansas and Texas, though others died in Kentucky, Oklahoma, and Alabama. And dozens more people got hurt. Hundreds of thousands of others are now without power, even during extreme heat. FEMA has already been doing damage assessments, and President Biden says he's contacted governors to see what other assistance they might need. There is still a slight chance of severe weather today, mostly on the East Coast, though the most serious threats have passed. Severe weather added another layer to the chaos as the summer traveling season kicked off. There were thousands of flight delays or cancellations every day of the holiday weekend. Most of them were weather-related, since storms did impact major hubs in Chicago and Dallas-Fort Worth. But it definitely did not help that airports were already packed. TSA says it screened nearly 3 million passengers on Friday alone, and that set a new U.S. record for the most screenings in a single day. And airports are expected to stay busy for a while. A group that represents major airlines expects record summer travel, with airlines expected to fly 271 million passengers. So they've added more flights to the schedules this summer. Airlines have also staffed up, and TSA says it's ready for the summer crush. Though an air traffic controller shortage, hot weather, and crowded airports could bring plenty of flight disruptions. So travelers are being asked to come to the airport early and prepared for their flights. Some of the most popular destinations include beaches, national parks, and international cities. Well, unfortunately, Papua New Guinea is dealing with the aftermath of a tragedy. The South Pacific Island nation's government told the United Nations more than 2,000 people are believed to have been buried by a landslide following weeks of heavy rain in the area. Officials say rescuers have been desperately trying to reach the people who were buried to see if anyone may have survived. But it's been especially difficult with rubble that's 32 feet deep in some places. Plus, the ground is unstable, and they don't have enough adequate equipment. Meanwhile, other people in the area are being evacuated because it's still considered high risk with more rain in the forecast. Aid workers from the UN, government agencies, and other groups are still on site, and Papua New Guinea is still asking for more support. Israel is facing even more pressure to scale back its war against Hamas. The UN's top court ordered Israel to immediately end its offensive, at least as it's being carried out now, in the southern Gaza city of Rafah. The court considers the humanitarian situation in Rafah to be disastrous and says moving forward as is will only make matters worse. The International Court of Justice's rulings are final and binding, but the ICJ does not actually have a way to enforce them, so they've been ignored in the past. And this one is expected to be ignored as well. Israeli officials already condemned it and again defended their Rafah operation, saying it's connected to Israel's right to defend itself against terror and free hostages taken on October 7th. Then on Sunday, an Israeli airstrike killed dozens of people at a Rafah tent camp, mostly women, children, and elderly people. Israel's military says the strike also killed 2 senior Hamas terrorists who were behind deadly attacks on Israeli civilians. But Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the deaths of civilians were a tragic mistake. He promised an investigation and also promised to keep fighting. Well, back in the U.S., families who lost loved ones in a devastating elementary school shooting decided to sue companies they consider responsible for motivating the gunman. They sued the social media giant Meta, the publisher of Call of Duty video games, Activision, and the manufacturer of the AR-15 style weapon used in the attack, Daniel Defense. Specifically, the lawsuits accuse Meta and Activision of exposing the Uvalde, Texas shooter to the weapon, training him to use it, and conditioning him to seeing it as a solution to his problems. They say the gunman downloaded a version of Call of Duty Modern Warfare that featured the exact model rifle that he would later buy on the opening title page. On top of that, they say he was being bombarded with explicit marketing and combat imagery on Instagram, some from Daniel Defense, and that Daniel Defense targeted him with other aggressive marketing strategies even before he turned 18. In response, Activision called the shooting horrendous and heartbreaking, but also pointed out, quote, millions of people around the world enjoy video games without turning to horrific acts. So far, Meta and Daniel Defense have not spoken about the lawsuits. 19 students and 2 teachers were killed in the Uvalde, Texas school shooting. As we told you last week, their families already reached a $2 million settlement with the city of Uvalde over the police response. Plus, there are lawsuits pending against dozens of members of the Texas Department of Public Safety. Stay tuned. Next time you ask Google a question, you might not want to trust the first answer you see. Google's new AI search overview, which gives you an AI-generated summary at the top of the search results, is under fire for giving users some bizarre answers. Some of them have even been going viral on social media. In one example, someone wrote that Google's new AI tool cited a satirical article by The Onion that said geologists suggest people eat 1 small rock a day. Another said it recommended putting glue on pizza, which was apparently based on a Reddit comment that was also meant to be a joke. So The Verge says Google is racing to manually remove some of these answers now, and that's why you might not see some of the same answers anymore. Still, a Google spokesperson says the vast majority of AI overview questions have given users high-quality information. And she says some of the examples posted on social media have been doctored. It's also worth noting Google's AI overview does cite its sources, so people get links to dig deeper on the web. And for now, AI experts suggest people click on those links to be their own human fact-checkers. All right, we have more news for you still coming up. But first, this episode is sponsored by SKIMS. If you're like me, then having a great-fitting, high-quality T-shirt is a must-have summer staple. And I found the perfect T-shirts from SKIMS. And look, finding the perfect tee is not easy. Does it fit right? Does it just fall apart the first time you wash it? Well, you don't have to worry because SKIMS makes the best basics. I have 2 SKIMS tees so far, and I'm constantly wearing both of them. The cotton jersey T-shirt in the color marble and the Fits Everybody tee in onyx. Both have this great fitting, soft, stretchy material that makes it so easy to dress up or dress down. So I can wear these tees with joggers for a quick errand or working from home, or throw them on with some jeans and a blazer for a night out. They are so versatile. Plus, I love wearing them because not only do they look great, they feel great. They're super soft and comfortable. Shop the SKIMS T-Shirt Shop at skims.com. Now available in sizes extra, extra small to 4X. And if you haven't yet, be sure to let them know that I sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select my show, The Newsworthy, in the drop-down menu that follows. Okay, now back to the news. It was another busy weekend for fans of a few different sports, including what's known as the greatest spectacle in racing. For the second year in a row, Joseph Newgarden won the Indianapolis 500 by pulling ahead in the last lap. And with that, he's bringing home a record-setting $4.9 million grand prize. There was also golf. Davis Riley won the first individual PGA Tour event at the Charles Schwab Challenge. He finished 5 shots over the world's #1 player, Scottie Scheffler. And with that, Riley won $1.6 million, a fully restored and modernized 1975 Stingray car, and the traditional winner's plaid jacket. And in basketball, we now know at least one of the teams headed to the NBA Finals. The Boston Celtics swept the Indiana Pacers in the East Coast Conference Finals last night. And next up, the West Coast Conference Finals could end up being a sweep too, if the Dallas Mavericks beat the Minnesota Timberwolves tonight. The Mavs are up 3-0 in the series, so just 1 win away from their spot. Of course, the Wolves still have a chance as well, since the series could go up to 7 games. Then whoever wins will take on the Celtics for the championship. It's also a somber time for the NBA. Legendary basketball player and commentator Bill Walton died yesterday after a long fight with cancer. He won 2 national titles at UCLA, 2 NBA championships in Portland and Boston, and then became a basketball analyst for NBC, CBS, ABC, and ESPN. Walton was elected to the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. He was also named one of the top 50 sports broadcasters of all time by the American Sportscaster Association. As NBA Commissioner Adam Silver put it, quote, Bill Walton was truly one of a kind. He was 71 years old. Another big retailer has decided to lower its prices. Amazon says it's making about 4,000 items less expensive at its Amazon Fresh grocery stores online and in person. And those discounts will apply to meat, seafood, frozen food, dairy, beverages, and more. Already, Target, Aldi, and Walmart announced they were cutting prices too on thousands of their most popular items. But keep in mind, this is only after food prices have gone way up. Since January of 2021, grocery costs have risen by more than 21%. So customers have been pulling back and looking for deals. Now, grocery chains hope the new prices will encourage price-conscious shoppers to come back and add more to their carts. Some of Hollywood's biggest summer blockbusters are off to a slow start. This Memorial Day weekend, the U.S. box office brought in about $128 million total. And that makes this the lowest grossing Memorial Day weekend since 1995. And it's not even adjusting for inflation. Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, and the Garfield movie led the way this year, though neither one brought in as much as expected. And this is somewhat surprising since summer typically brings in some of the biggest movie theater audiences of the year. Still, this summer movie season might not be a total bust. There are some highly anticipated sequels coming out soon, including Despicable Me 4, Inside Out 2, and Deadpool and Wolverine. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Trivia Tuesday, when we ask a different trivia question every week. But first, a quick break to talk about our sponsor, Lumi. Unlike certain other deodorants, Lumi Whole Body Deodorant is powered by mandelic acid to deliver impressive 72-hour odor control everywhere from your pits to your feet. And now, 6 years after a doctor created Lumi, this game-changing whole body deo has earned over 300,000 five-star reviews from people like me. When other deodorants just were not working anymore, I wasn't sure what to do. But now that I found Lumi, I am using it every day, and I will continue to do so, whether they're a sponsor or not, because I've found it actually works. Plus, you can choose from a variety of fresh, bright scents like clean tangerine, lavender sage, or toasted coconut. I personally like clean tangerine the best. But try a bunch with Lumi Starter Pack. It is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, and 2 free products of your choice, like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get 15% off all Lumi products with our exclusive code. And if you combine the 15% off with the already discounted starter pack, that equals over 40% off their starter pack. So use code NEWSWORTHY for 15% off your first purchase at LumiDeodorant.com. That's code NEWSWORTHY at Lumi, L-U-M-E, deodorant, DEODORANT.com. Okay, now back to Trivia Tuesday. Today's trivia question is, which country gives students the longest summer holiday? You can play along with us in our weekly roundup email that comes out every Friday. As for last week's trivia question, roughly how fast does the Earth spin? The answer is 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. And yet we don't feel the Earth moving because we and everything else are spinning right along with it. And that said, if the Earth's spin was to suddenly speed up or slow down, we would definitely notice it. Of course, not only does the Earth spin on its axis once each day, but it also moves in orbit around the sun at nearly 67,000 miles an hour. The revolution around the sun lasts 1 year. Well, thank you so much for listening and making us part of your daily routine. Thanks as well for sharing the show. We'll be back with another news roundup tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.